Welcome on into Bengals Breakdown. I am your host, Stone Shields. Thank you so much for joining us here. And we're doing a little bit of solo producing on today's show. So if you see me look down, don't be alarmed. It's completely normal. Just trying to deal with the graphics here at the same time. But coming up on today's show, the Bengals released their first depth chart of the year. So we're going to be breaking that down. There are some surprising things that you'll find in the depth chart, so we'll tell you all about that. We'll take a look at every single position group. That includes the specialists as well, and I'll give you my 5 biggest takeaways from the depth charts that the Bengals released yesterday. But before we get into that, will you be watching the preseason week 1? The Bengals will be playing the Buccaneers. We'll, of course, have a watch party for you here on our channel at Bengals Breakdown. So let me know in the comments section if you will be watching. Spam me. Are you someone that, likes the preseason? You want to see what the team's all about? Or are you just going to wait till the regular season? Let me know regardless. Spam those me's right now in the comment section. All right, my first big takeaway from the Bengals depth chart release is that they had wide receiver 3. That spot was delegated to Trenton Irwin. And, of course, Bengals fans know Trenton Irwin very well. He's a reliable guy. He has been for a while for Cincinnati, but it is a bit of a shock to see him at that spot, considering some of the other guys that they have on their roster. This is exactly what the Bengals depth chart at wide receiver looks like right now. Obviously, 1 and 2, you got Chase and Higgins there. That 3 spot with Irwin is a bit of a surprise, and Yoshivas and Burton, of course, have been playing really, really well throughout training camp. So it'll be interesting to see if Trenton Irwin can kind of hold on to that spot. Remember, all these guys are going to play, right? I've said it before. I'll say it again. The 6 guys that the Bengals are going to have, 6 receivers that they're going to have on their roster, that's pretty much set in stone for me right now, unless something happens in terms of an injury, right? So you're looking at Charlie Jones. He doesn't have a picture here on this list. Bengals kind of have him in that 6th spot right now, so it'll be interesting to see if he gets more playing time going forward. But right now, that's kind of what the Bengals are looking like at that wide receiver position, and they have Trenton Irwin as the wide receiver 3. Which leads us to the pinned comment of today's show. Will Trenton Irwin be wide receiver 3 for the Cincinnati Bengals? Go ahead and let me know in the comment section. We've asked your guys' opinion on wide receiver 3 a lot over the past couple of months, and Trenton Irwin hasn't really been a guy that's gotten a lot of love. So let me know what you think. Maybe your mind has changed. Type Y for yes or N for no, and if that ad comes here on YouTube, that's totally fine. Take advantage of it. Get down in the comment section and let us know what you think. The biggest surprise for me taking a look at the Bengals depth chart was they have Drew Sample at tight end 1 over Mike Gesicki, which I was just very shocked by. It honestly was like, could this potentially be a typo? Like, it really didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I think, maybe there's some hesitation to move, Gesicki into that spot just because he, wasn't on the team last year. Sample's a guy that's been more established. He's been around, right? He just signed that 3-year deal with Cincinnati. So maybe that's a contributing factor as to why they have Sample at 1. But this is going to change at some point. Whenever the Bengals, make this change, it's really only a matter of time. Because, Mike Gesicki, they brought him in free agency to be that wide receiver 1, that tight end 1 for Cincinnati. And I'm really excited to see what he does on the football field. They have Tanner Hudson at the tight end 3 spot. He was some people have him as like a surprise cut candidate for Cincinnati, but they have him at that 3 spot, and they got the rookies there towards the bottom, which we'll get to them a little bit later in the show, but that's kind of a theme that you'll see, that they don't really have their rookies very high at all on their depth chart. So give me your one-word reaction to Drew Sample being listed as tight end 1 for the Cincinnati Bengals. Mine was probably just be false, because that's just not true. I don't know why they have him in that spot. But let me know what you think down in the comments section with your one-word reaction to Drew Sample's placement on the depth chart for Cincinnati. Go ahead and down in the comments and sound off for us right now. Another takeaway that I had is that they have Trent Brown listed as the team's starting right tackle, okay? And, we've had a lot of discussion about who's going to be the guy at that position for Cincinnati. And obviously, Trent Brown hasn't been out there very often, or he hasn't been out there at all, really, throughout this training camp. And certainly once he gets out there, that battle's really going to heat up between him and Amarius Mims. But Mims is a guy that's getting all of those reps right now. And Trent Brown really hasn't seen any of those reps. So at some point, should be soon here, might even be today, Trent Brown will get out there and get a lot of reps at that right tackle spot. This is kind of what the lineup looks like. I found it somewhat interesting that they have Carman as Orlando Brown's backup. I thought he could potentially be another cut candidate for Cincinnati, but it seems like Jackson Carman's going to be sticking around and is going to be the backup to Orlando Brown Jr. And, Volson, Kappa, Karras, those guys, not much movement there in terms of the interior of the offensive line for Cincinnati. But, the biggest thing here is that, they went out there and they have Trent Brown in that starting spot, and we'll see how long he can hold on to that. Another takeaway I had, DJ Turner. They have him listed at that cornerback 2 spot for Cincinnati. It's been well documented, the battle right at cornerback 2 between him and Dax Hill. We said from jump that it was kind of, Turner's battle to lose, right? And, I fully expected him to go out there and kind of assert himself as the guy in that room for Cincinnati. And this depth chart certainly reflects that for them. This is, exactly what it looks like right now. DJ Ivy's a guy that I'm going to have an eye on. He's still on the PUP list, right? But, at some point he's going to be back and ready to go, and I really have a lot of high hopes for him. He really was a great special teams guy for Cincinnati last year before he suffered that season-ending injury. So he's a guy to monitor, going forward in that cornerback room. But DJ Turner, biggest takeaway, he will be the that cornerback 2, it looks like for now, for Cincinnati. I want to give a shout-out to our friends over at Game Time because today's show is presented by Game Time. And I love the summer because Major League Baseball is in full swing, and I love making the walk down the street from our Chat Sports offices to a Reds game any chance that I get. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. And with the NFL season just over a month away, you can get tickets to watch the Cincinnati Bengals at Paycor Stadium, right? And, the Bengals are going to have plenty of night games that you could go to. That's going to be, really fun to check that out. And I really love the zone deals. You choose the section, and Game Time chooses the seats for you. So download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off first purchase. Terms apply. Check out GameTime.co for last-minute tickets. Again, terms apply. Create an account and redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices, and all of that. The best part about that is that it is 100% guaranteed. Another takeaway that I have here, my last one, is you'll find that a lot of the rookies for Cincinnati are at the bottom of the depth chart. They were kind of hesitant to really bump any of those guys up into significant roles, despite the fact I think a lot of these rookies are going to have significant roles for Cincinnati. So now we'll take a look at what the safety room looks like for the Bengals. I think this could be the next, two-headed monster really for Cincinnati. And instead of Jesse Bates back there, it's Geno Stone next to Von Bell. Only a matter of time before Jordan Battle works his way kind of into the rotation. And you got Dejon Anthony up here as well, the Bengals' 7th-round pick, who really has made a lot of big plays for the Bengals in training camp to this point. And, he's tallied 3 interceptions. So that's certainly something that Bengals fans can be excited about. And I think, at first I really wasn't sure if he was going to make the team. We know how much the Bengals fall in love with their draft picks. But I do think at this point, Dejon Anthony is certainly making a case to make the team for Cincinnati. Taking a look at defensive end. We heard the news the other day about Cam Sample tearing his Achilles, going to miss the entirety of the season, which is really just unfortunate. But that kind of, makes people's roles that are in that room, they're going to have to step up, right? Joseph Osai, this is an adjustment we made to our depth chart. We had Miles Murphy here, but the Bengals have him more towards the back end of that room. So Joseph Osai looks like he's going to be their third option, especially with Cam Sample going down. And it's a big year for Joseph Osai, the last year of his rookie deal. So, he'll certainly try to go out there, make some plays, and, earn that next contract. And, of course, it goes without saying, Hendrickson and Hubbard, those guys haven't been out there much during training camp. But those are your two studs at that defensive end position, and expect both of them to have really big years for Cincinnati. Another adjustment we had to make to our depth chart here. We had, Chris Jenkins Jr. as their third defensive tackle. But, the Bengals, it looks like they're going to have Zach Carter at that position, either him or Tufele. And Tufele hasn't been out much throughout training camp, so I went ahead and put Zach Carter in that DT3 spot for Cincinnati. And, that's interesting. I've been, if you've watched the show, I've been very hard on Zach Carter. I've sort of given up on him, but it looks like he's going to have opportunity to really go out there and, try to carve himself out a role on this team. So that's a guy I'm going to have a close eye on. And, B.J. Hill and Sheldon Rankins goes without saying. Those guys are going to be, your two main guys at that tackle position. And again, McKinley Jackson towards the bottom of that depth chart, just another one of those rookies that the Bengals have kind of been hesitant in terms of moving them up in the depth chart, at least to this point. And remember, we will have a watch party for you guys coming up here on Saturday, and it will be, the Bengals' first preseason game. Certainly really excited about that. They'll be playing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and who knows, maybe quarterback Joe Burrow will be out there for a series or two. That certainly would be exciting to see him out there. Obviously, if he's going to be out there, want that starting offensive line to be out there as well, right? So make sure you hit that sub button so you don't miss out. That's youtube.com/BengalsTV. I'll be there Saturday. I hope you can join me for our first watch party of the season. Here is that quarterback depth chart. Really no surprises here. Didn't have to make any adjustments to this one. Burrow's obviously your guy, and Browning's going to be that quarterback 2 spot. As far as if Lombardi can challenge Woodside for that 3 spot, I really don't know, to be honest with you. I wouldn't expect it. I think, the Bengals obviously offered Woodside a contract over the offseason. So I think they would like to see him kind of be that third quarterback for them this year for Cincinnati. But, not much to say about this room. Pretty much set in stone to this point. Moving over to the running back spot. They listed Zach Moss ahead of Chase Brown, which is what we had, and that's certainly not a surprise, but I still have belief that at some point before the year is over, you're going to see Chase Brown take over that RB1 spot for Cincinnati. Really got a lot of high hopes for him, and really expecting a lot out of Chase Brown this year, and I think he has an opportunity to really be the Bengals' #1 breakout candidate and really make a name for himself for Cincinnati. And they had Chris Evans as their running back 4, so that to me seems like they want to keep him around. Again, he's one of those guys that was kind of a potential cut candidate for Cincinnati, but it looks like they're probably going to hold on to him. But that's what the running back room looks like at this point. Moving over to linebacker, not much going on here as well. Those 3 guys that you see there on your screen, those are going to be the 3 main linebackers, and they're obviously all shoo-ins to make the team. And Bocce is also going to be a shoo-in to make that team. So that last linebacker spot, that 5th spot, assuming they take 5, which they might not, is really going to be a competition between those names that you see there at the bottom of your screen. And that's really something that I'm interested in seeing. Who's going to be that 5th linebacker for Cincinnati? Because, like I just said, you have a lot of certainty at the top end of that room, but who that last spot's going to be, that if they decide to keep 5, that remains, open at this point. And before we get out of here, we want to take a look at that special teams room. Not a ton of surprises here for Cincinnati. Kick returner, they got Travion Williams here. Could Brown or Evans potentially take over that spot? I think so, but I don't have any issues with Travion being that kick returner. Charlie Jones is certainly going to be the punt returner, and there is that competition at that punter spot, that 3-man competition that I'll certainly have a close eye on. And right now it looks like Brad Robbins has the leg up, and that makes sense because it seems like the guys that have been here before, the Bengals are more easily putting them towards the top of the depth chart. But there you go. There you go right there. That's a full breakdown of the Bengals depth chart that they released yesterday.